PraDa Law Live, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jackie Mendez. I'm your host for today's show. Happy Friday. I hope you guys are anticipating the weekend, have some great plans. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about criminal law and family law. And before I introduce our attorneys, I want to remind everyone that the show is live. The call is free. Give us a call at any time during the program. We'd love to take your questions. The number is 888-88-LEGAL. Consultation will be free. And let's go ahead and introduce those attorneys. First up, we have Mike Haber.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be back.
And he'll be talking to us about some criminal law. And of course, our partner here, Daniel Silver.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for having me back.
And he'll be talking to us about family law. And of course, the lovely Jennifer Pratt.
Thank you, Jackie. Pleasure to be here this evening with everyone.
Also an amazing partner here at PraDa Law. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, that number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call.
That's right, and it's Friday, everyone, and we're going to be talking about the weekend. We're going to be talking about some criminal law, some family law, how the two intersect. We have these excellent attorneys with us today. They're going to be talking to us about all this. But before we begin, I would be just completely out of pocket in not mentioning, of course, how lovely Miss Mendez looks today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Miss Mendez, you look like you've got some gigs lined up this weekend. Is that why you're glowing? Because you've got a glow today that I haven't seen before. What's going on?
I'm happy because, you know, last weekend, this weekend, I've been back to work. I have some gigs lined up. I've been able to book some private clients as well as some venues that have been opening up again.
Right.
You know, although it is 50%, you know.
And you're a singer, right?
I'm a singer. I'm a musician.
You play any instruments?
I play a little bit of guitar, a little bit of piano, percussion.
You and Dan might be able to jam out after one of the shows.
That would be fun. Maybe a little songwriting session.
So I'm glad to hear you've got a beautiful glow, and that's what I want to hear. And then Mr. Silver.
I'm 50% open. I guess the glass is half full, right?
That's right.
Well, you always got to think that the glass is half full. If you're one of those people that think it's half empty, you know, that's where you made the first mistake. You got to always think it's half full.
In all fairness, though, sometimes as your lawyer, it's not my job to be optimistic.
It's his job to be truthful.
I need to tell you the bad day.
And I do too. Listen, I think I set my clients up in the sense of like I give them like worst case scenario always. I think that's what a good attorney always does is give you worst case scenario always, so that when I do win or when things go really well for us, you know, you're like totally happy and impressed. I think what scares me is when I hear people come to my office. I'm sure you've heard it, Attorney Haber. I'm sure you've heard it, Attorney Silver. And they said, you know, this attorney promised me, guaranteed me, said this, said he could get me out on bond, said he could get me a no guilty. And I'm just like, you need to run if they made you said promises. But
it's a rookie mistake. It's delivering, or it's over delivering, or you know, setting unrealistic expectations in your client's mind.
It may also be a highly unethical thing to do, since you're not allowed to promise a result in a case. You can certainly promise to use all of your skill and talent and your best efforts to try and achieve what you decide is a realistic objective. But to tell a client, you know, you're going to get X and I guarantee it, well, that's asking for a problem with the bar.
I've actually told clients that if someone's going to make you a promise, you know what, go hire that guy. Have him put that promise in writing and hire that guy.
But Attorney Haber, certainly with your years of experience and especially dealing with, you know, criminal clients and things of that nature, I'm sure you've heard people say to you, but Attorney X promised me, guaranteed me this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hear it, but again, what anybody says and what anybody can do are two different things. You're ethically bound as an attorney to tell the client what the realistic possibilities and probabilities are, but you're not allowed to guarantee them a result. You just can't.
The other comment I wanted to make before we get right into, you know, more substantive criminal and family law is just how dapper Attorney Silver is looking this evening. I mean, this jacket is just so on fire, literally. He's got the red and red on red. I mean,
you gotta look the part.
I love it. And Attorney Haber, you are not far behind. You are wearing a lovely silver jacket, of which I hold close to my heart for reasons we won't talk about on this show, but I love that jacket on you as well.
Thank you very much.
So let's get into it.
Everyone looks great.
Let's get into it.
Yeah, I do want to remind our viewers at home, though, that number is 888-88-LEGAL. The first consultation is free, so give us a call. You have nothing to lose.
Don't beat me up. It might be domestic violence, Attorney Silver. So what's going on, guys? We're going to get right into it. I know you guys have something you want to talk about, and I'm going to lead off the conversation today because I think that this is something a lot of criminal attorneys think of, and even a lot of new aspiring attorneys, you know, that first year in law school when you're not really sure where you want to be, what kind of lawyer you want to be, and it's this. Attorney Haber, are all your clients guilty? You practice criminal law. Are they just all guilty?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question.
I'm used to it.
I can tell you this. I don't ever ask a client whether or not they're guilty. It's not my job to determine whether or not a client is guilty. It's actually my job to determine whether or not the state can prove my client's guilt beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt. So I'm not there to judge my client.
Sometimes you need to know.
No,
Do you really need to know, though?
You really don't.
Do you
need-
want to know?
I would say as a lawyer, there are definitely things that you do need to know, but I don't need to know whether or not my client is guilty. I need to know whether or not my client has a viable affirmative defense to the charges, whether or not there's any substantive or procedural or factual or legal mechanism that I can use to attack the charges in his case, but I will never ask my client, did you do it? That question's never going to leave my lips.
What about verifying an alibi?
Well, that's a different story, but
If your client even has an alibi.
that's a different story. Yeah, I mean, alibis are interesting because, you know, with an alibi, so that the folks understand what we're talking about, that's where the state says, Mike Haber did X on this day at this time to this victim. And I say, well, I couldn't have done it because I was in Hawaii. I wasn't in the country. I wasn't here. I was in the hospital. I come up with some explanation as to why it would be factually impossible for me to have committed the crime. That's what an alibi is. So, yeah.
You need the proof, of course.
Right, because as a lawyer, we have obligations to the court. We cannot put on testimony that we know to be untruthful, and we do have a duty to investigate and make sure that there is some, responsible proof behind anything that we do put forward. It's got to be legit.
So what happens if you've got that client who's saying, hey, I was in Hawaii at this time, and then all of a sudden trial comes around and perhaps the evidence is looking like he may not be in Hawaii at the time?
Well, I would know that well before trial started, so there's no 11th hour there.
Right, we're coming up on our first commercial break, but we're going to keep this conversation going after this short break. I'm going to have Jackie remind you all of the number, and I'm going to let her lead y'all into the commercial break. You can do it, Jackie.
Well, that number is 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size. We know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live. Once again, I'm Jackie Mendez. It's Friday. We're happy it's Friday. That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you one more time, 88-LEGAL, that's the number you want to call. Call's free, and the consultation, your first consultation, will be free. We've been talking to Attorney Haber about some criminal law, and we definitely have some more questions for him before we move on to Attorney Silver.
That's right, Jackie. And even though I'm very excited because it's Friday, these are serious matters. This is your liberty or someone that you love or care about. So this is not a joking matter in any way, shape, or form. Let me be very clear. However, we are excited about it being Friday, and we are excited about having these amazing attorneys with us today. So before the break, we were talking about alibi, and that word, is that, what is that, lying? What is that, alibi? That doesn't even sound English. And what does that mean? And Attorney Haber wants to share with us some of the affirmative defenses. We have that in the civil context. I'll talk to you guys about that on another show. But what is that affirmative defense in criminal, Attorney Haber? Defenses to the criminal case? Please elaborate.
Well, we could go on, obviously for hours. Right. We could go on for hours on defenses, but let's just take a real easy one. Self-defense.
Stand your ground?
Well, stand your ground is like self-defense on steroids, right? Okay. Self-defense basically says that if you are in fear, reasonably, to somebody looking from the outside in says, boy, I would have been afraid of that. Mm-hmm. And you are actually in fear, you have the right to defend yourself. You can be in fear for your own safety, for the safety of others, or even for your property in the state of Florida. So self-defense has what's called a built-in duty to retreat. Stand your ground eliminates that duty. That's why I say it's like self-defense on steroids. So that's an affirmative defense because you're not denying the fact that you committed the act that you're being accused of doing. You're just...
There it is.
You're just saying there's a legal justification for what I did.
Okay, I did it, but for here's my affirmative defense.
So that's very different than alibi. I don't mean to talk over you, but alibi, you're saying I didn't do it.
Right.
Stand your ground or self-defense, you're saying, yeah, you're damn right I did it, and I did it because I had no alternative.
Right.
And in the civil context, you could also say, unjust enrichment or unclean hands. These are, I may have done this act, but this is what excuses my culpability or my liability.
Right, like when someone says you haven't paid me child support, and then the other person says, well, you haven't paid me alimony either, so unclean hands.
Exactly.
Okay, well, 888.
Or actually, how about I couldn't? I would think would be even more of an affirmative defense, right? I didn't pay my child support, but it's not because I didn't want to. It's because I couldn't. I didn't have the money.
Well, then you may not be held in willful and contempt of court, but you're still going to owe that money.
Well, it's not going to eliminate the fact that you owe it, right? But it can get you out of a contempt charge.
That is true. Yes,
it
could.
To that extent, you could kind of liken it to an affirmative defense.
True that.
You're not saying I didn't do it. You're not saying, hey, I did pay you. You just didn't cash the check, right? Or I gave you cash and you didn't, log it.
Whatever you do, please don't pay people cash. Please. For these child support cases, I see so many of them. The people pay cash and then they just...
And you know what? Let's harp on that for a second, because we've had several cases in the office legally. People pay child support in cash for years. Don't keep receipts. Don't take it.
It's a Latin thing, though, I think. I don't listen. I can say that on mine. I really think it's a Latin thing. It is a cultural thing where we give cash because we think like, hi, I'm giving them cash. It's even more. Like here you go. Tax free. But then how are they screwing themselves?
There's no record, and the obligation, the burden is on the payor to show that you've paid. And if you've been paying cash for years and years, maybe at best every month you have a $400 ATM withdrawal each and every month for years, and you could just say that's every 5th of the month I took my $400 out. But if you don't have the records, or you're being paid cash and you're paying cash, it becomes a real problem for us.
I would think that would also presume the fact that the cash is legitimate, right? Because what if you don't have an ATM? What if you just have cash, like you're working under the table, or you're a drug dealer, or any of a million reasons that you could wind up with undocumented money that you can't go back and then justify as being legitimate.
And I am so glad that you brought up that drug dealer comment. I'm gonna come back to that after Jackie.
Yeah, definitely. I want to remind everyone at home to give us a call, 888-88-LEGAL. That's the number. It's super easy. Your first consultation's free. You have nothing to lose.
So a couple of years ago, I actually had a family case, and this is a case that, of course, Mr. Silver, I consulted with him and I asked him about it, and I was amazed to find out the following. I represented the father in this case. It was a non-marital case. The child was born out of wedlock, and the mother's attorney, who was extremely aggressive, may have thought that it was her child for a second, to be honest. But anyway, ended up loving her long term anyway. Hi, how you doing, girl? All right. So, but initially extremely aggressive, and she was after that alleged drug dealing money. In other words, she kept saying to me, your guy's a drug dealer. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're going to calculate the child support using his drug money income.
Imputation of income based on illegal sources of funds. How about that doesn't fly?
Talk to me, Mr. Silver. What happened in that case?
Well, you cannot impute income based on illegal, illicit sources of fund, but we may have to come back for another break.
We're going to come back because I don't suspect many of our viewers are in this situation, but I thought it was very interesting, and it was a great way to just stab back to them. So we're going to let Jackie take us to commercial.
Ladies and gentlemen, 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. That consultation's free. And stay tuned. We have more information when we come back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live. It's Friday. We've been talking some criminal law, some family law. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the weekend, so there might be some information for you in this segment that you want to hear before that weekend occurs, right? Well, the number is 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call because we're waiting to hear from you.
I want to go back to where we started, which was about the question I asked Attorney Haber about all his clients being guilty or not. But before we get into that, because it's the weekend, and just in case we run out of time, because I've been told I've been talking too much on this show, so I want to get right to it. Attorney Haber, you've been on the show before, and you've mentioned to us what you have like it sounds like a geometric or mathematical square to, what is just quickly, before we get into honesty again and guilty or not guilty, one word of advice for all our potential clients out there, all our listeners, all our viewers, haha, talking a lot, that you have for them if they were to, God forbid, get pulled over, whether it's on a boat, on a bike, bicycle, car, whatever this weekend.
So I think you're talking about the tagline that I use, which is up X2.
I love it.
Shut up and lawyer up. Basically what you're doing is you're invoking your Fifth Amendment privilege against compulsory self-incrimination by not offering explanations or speaking to the police and giving them statements that can be used and admitted against you. And you're invoking your Sixth Amendment privilege to have an attorney present. So really, the less you say, the better.
But Attorney Haber, I've been in that situation personally. And you know what they said when I said I didn't want to talk and I was invoking my rights as an American, I wanted my lawyer? They said, fine, then we're going to arrest you. So at that point, I think most of the people will get scared and will go, holy moly, I don't want to get arrested, so let me talk.
Well,
word of advice on that.
My word of advice remains the same, up X2. Anything that you can say, your lawyer can say better. If a police officer is hell-bent on arresting you, you're getting arrested. The question is whether or not you're going to get arrested with incriminating statements or not.
And that's the ticket right there. Go ahead, Attorney Silver.
The police officers have a job to do, and their job is arresting you. Their job is getting statements and evidence against you. They may use deception in order to obtain that evidence. They may say, hey, listen, be a man up. I'll talk to you mano a mano. And when you go to court, I will tell that judge that you cooperated and that you were fully honest, and they will. And they're signing, and you're signing your own death warrant.
They can get slimier than that. Let's take the example of getting pulled over and an officer has suspicion that you have marijuana in the vehicle or some kind of contraband in the vehicle. And then what they turn around and do is they sometimes will say to you, okay, if you give us your source, if you agree to wear a wire and go make a purchase, if you do A, B, or C, we won't even charge you. And they let you go right from the scene. They take your information, they give you their phone number, and they tell you, be in touch with us tomorrow, or we'll call you the next day, or whatever it may be. And now all of a sudden you're on the hook. So, you know, sometimes, to go back to what you originally said at the beginning of this block, sometimes it's better to get arrested and just shut the hell up. Because the hole that you dig yourself into can be an awful lot worse than if you just go for the ride. I think didn't we talk about that on one of our other shows, that the cops sometimes say you might beat the rap, but you won't beat the ride. So focus on the end game, beating the rap.
Also, there's another little saying too. It's, you know, sometimes you don't get busted for the crime, you get busted for the cover-up. And there's a lot of truth to that, and especially in family court, because someone might make a mistake, try and sweep it under the rug, and the mistake isn't what gets you; it's the trying to cover it up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Attorney Haber. Attorney Silver, well, you heard it here. Attorney Haber says, shut up and lawyer up. Give us a call, 888-88-LEGAL.
I want to hear all about, let's go back to whether or not your clients are guilty and the communication between an attorney and a criminal defendant, and then interplay it into family law as well. Attorney Haber, start with you.
Thank you. So, like I said, I don't ask the question, that particular question, but it is very important. It is critical to the attorney-client relationship. It's actually critical to any meaningful relationship, even interpersonal ones, to have open and honest dialogue.
You don't say.
If you don't have the ability to tell your lawyer the truth, if you do not fully disclose everything to your lawyer, you cannot be properly defended, because the next thing you know, you get blindsided in a courtroom. Mr. Silver and I were talking about that before the show, some examples of positions that we have been put in by our clients, omitting, withholding, for whatever reason. Sometimes it's embarrassment, sometimes it's, you know, they feel like they can get away with it.
I was prosecuting a domestic violence injunction, and lo and behold, at trial, it just came out that 3 weeks before trial, my client invited the other side to a movie with the child just to see how they were doing. And I was just like stunned, flabbergasted, with nothing to be done.
It's very common. This happens all the time in all sorts of cases. I mean, not just what we do. If a client fails to disclose critical information, it could be the life and death of the case. So in the one that Dan was saying, the number one factor in a domestic violence petition is you have to be in fear. If you're not in fear, there's no basis for protection. So how can you realistically be in fear of somebody that you call up and take to the movies?
And I was just, to the extent that it's so the client, I'm like, look, you know, we spent hours and hours today preparing for this hearing, and you didn't bother to share that little tidbit of the information that came out without me knowing. It was a disaster. But look, you know, if the client would have been more forthcoming and would have told me everything, we certainly could have planned around that or been better prepared.
And here's the other thing. You know, the other thing is that it's not about the lawyer being embarrassed or the lawyer losing the case or the lawyer being humiliated. It's about the client. We're being paid to do the right job, to do the effective job. And if you want us to do the job, you have to arm us with the tools that we need. And it all starts with open and honest dialogue. Remember, it's privileged. Everything you say to your lawyer, I don't care if you do it in writing, I don't care if you do it verbally, as long as you're not doing it in public, whether it's by email, by text, verbally, in person, over the phone, makes no difference. It's privileged, 100% confidential.
Thank you so much, Attorney Haber. Well, can't believe the show's almost over. I can't believe it. Well, 888-88-LEGAL. That's the number you want to call. I hope everyone has a safe weekend. Thank you so much, Attorney Haber. Our partner here, Attorney Silver. Our other partner, Miss Jennifer Pratt. We adore you guys. We love listening to all the information you have. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jackie. It's been a pleasure. If you have any questions about criminal law, family law, the number's on the screen. The first consultation is free. You have absolutely nothing to lose. Don't do this alone. Give us a call. We'll be here next week. Have a great weekend. Thank you for tuning in.